Hey, everybody, I'm Gabby Hart with Fox 26 News, and this is our virtual edition of The Missing, where we go through and we highlight and talk about stories that we've covered for our series, The Missing. This is where we make sure that we shine a light on the dozens, hundreds of people who go missing from the greater Houston area, making sure their names, their faces stay in the limelight so that people can remember them and talk about them and maybe provide information that can give these families some closure. So today, the story we're doing is a bit different. This is the story of Cecilia Huerta Gallegos. Her missing persons case was escalated to a homicide investigation. However, it's been years and her family still does not know where her remains are. Her own husband is charged with her murder. So I want you guys to take a look at that story. And then afterward, I'll be joined by her sister to talk about the latest.
She told my older sister, Margie, that if something happened to her, it was her husband that murdered her.
That phone call was made on July 7th, 2019. It was the last time anyone would ever hear from 29-year-old Cecilia Huerta Gallegos.
We did reach out to my uncle. He's the one that took the police up there that next morning. And he did say that she had left with someone else, which...
That's what her husband said, she left with someone else.
But he did have scratches all over his neck and his face.
Maria Lopez, Cecilia's older sister, says that when Cecilia married her husband, she became distant from their family. The couple lived in San Antonio, while her other family members all lived in Houston. And anytime they got to see her, they say her husband had to be around. Maria recalled the last time that she saw them.
She wouldn't even talk in front of him. And my brother took him to the store. He's like, let's go to the store. And I asked her, is something going on? She's like, no. And I said, you're not that type of person. You know, she was acting weird.
Maria says it wasn't until Cecilia vanished that they realized the extent of what she'd been dealing with during her 5-year marriage.
Was there a history of abuse?
Yes, there was 4 police reports before everything went on. We didn't know what was going on. She would never talk about it.
Homicide detectives quickly got involved following Cecilia's disappearance, and what they found on home surveillance footage was beyond alarming.
So you see through her home surveillance, you can see her walking in the house, walking in her bedroom, and then he goes in the bedroom as well?
Yes, he goes in the bedroom as well. This was like around 7:40 p.m. By 2 a.m., you see him shutting down the cameras, turning them back on at 3 a.m. Left at 5 a.m., returned at 8 a.m., unloading a chainsaw and shovels. Homicide did tell us that it's 100% she's deceased.
Maria claims footage also shows him grabbing garbage bags and chemicals and walking in and out of the room. It's been more than 3 years, and Cecilia's body has never been recovered. In 2021, 2 years after she disappeared, detectives charged Cecilia's husband, Reyes Gallegos, with murder. Maria says a week after Cecilia vanished, she went to their home and pleaded with him for answers.
All he said, he got on his knees, he started crying, and he's like, she changed a lot.
Cecilia was a nurse who was working to become a doctor. She was also a mother of 4. 2 of those children were shared with her husband. And Maria says right now, all her family needs is closure.
At this point, we really don't care what time they give them. All we want is her. We want her back.
Reyes Gallegos is currently out on bond. I'll be following this court case closely.
Yeah, quite the story. We do have Maria Lopez joining us now. I'm going to go ahead and pop her up here. Maria, how are you? Thank you for taking the time out to do this.
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. What was it like after this story aired for you?
It was hard. It brought memories back to July 8th when it all happened on 2019. So it was pretty tough for us, even for my sister, my older sister, to see the story in my family. So it's been tough on us.
Has there been any new information, any new developments, any changes? Talk to me about that.
Well, as for the case, they are trying to make them plea. The court was supposed to be on August 8th. They did change it to October. So they're trying to make them accept a plea in order for them not to go to trial. But
Mhm.
at this point, his lawyer is not accepting a plea. So if by October, if they do not accept and they want another reset, they're not going to make a reset. They're just going to go ahead and go to trial.
Okay. Um, how do you feel about that? I know that Reyes Gallegos, who is charged with um, harming your sister, hiding her body, it's hard to say. I know it's hard for you to hear, and he's out on bond.
It's been pretty hard on us, especially because I don't think he was supposed to even get a bond, especially
Mm,
if you're accused of murder. But at the end of the day, it's like the homicide said, they're the detectives, they're like, it till not proven he's guilty, he's allowed to have a bond. And at that point, till we don't go to trial, that's when, they're going to decide whether they have enough evidence to charge them, which they do, but they're not allowed to tell the family what evidence they have.
yeah. And like you said, when we were listening or when I was speaking with you and listening back to this video, I mean, it sounds like he hid whatever he allegedly did, that he allegedly hid this body somewhere that you don't know if your family will ever find her remains.
It is like I mentioned before, it's hard, and to the point where at this point I think he is not gonna confess. He's 100% sure that without a body you can't charge anyone. Even though we do have evidence against him, he has that in his mind, as that we're not gonna he's not gonna be charged for it because there's no weapon and there's no body. But just with the small evidence they do have, that will allow them to charge him, if he don't accept the plea.
Yeah. Well, it'll allow them because he has been charged. So it'll
Yes.
allow them to take it to trial.
Yes.
Um, you know, what is it? I mean, I know you went, like you said, and we mentioned in the story, you went to his home and you asked him, just tell us where she is. Just tell us where she is. In that moment, I mean, what was that like for you approaching him? Was it scary? Were you fearful that something might happen to you?
To be honest, I was scared. I was the only one that entered the home at that time. I did have my search team waiting for me at the corner of the house because they're like, if you don't come out in 20 minutes, we're gonna go in. And I was scared when I entered. I didn't go all the way in. Well, I was in the kitchen because once you enter the kitchen is right there and then, and the dining room. Um, and I asked them, I'm like, just tell me, where she's at. I'm not gonna, say anything. I'm just gonna tell my search team to go look for her there. I said, just, let your kids have closure and us. All he did was get on his knees, cry. He didn't look at me in my face. He was looking towards the ground, and he just said, she changed. He did not say, I did not murder her. Um, I'm not guilty, nothing. All he said was, she changed. She was not the same. She wouldn't cook no more. She would not do this and this and that. And,
Hmm.
it's a lot of stuff, that he did prior the first month of her being missing. Um, he will even make phone calls to me, random phone calls,
Mhm.
telling me that crying that that he misses Ceci, that he was looking at her videos, which I would, tell him, what, just tell me where she's at, and we can work something out. Just let me know, if you decide to change your mind and tell me where she's at, I will literally, appreciate it. And all he answered, and I will never forget this, was, yes, I will call you. He stopped crying out of nowhere. Like, he was
Mm,
crying at the moment. Out of nowhere, he got serious, and he's like, okay. That's the only word he said, okay.
mm. Man, and looking at your sister, I mean, such a beautiful young lady, young, she was working towards something, and she had four children. Two of those children belonged to the man accused of killing her.
Yes, to belong to
Where,
him.
where are those kids now? How are her children?
Her children are okay. The one that got custody for them was my older sister Margie. One of my nephews, he is going through a tougher, situation. The smaller one,
So
we are
they're
taking.
not in the custody. The two children that belong to Reyes Gallegos, he does not have custody of them.
No, he does not have custody. He lost custody once he was arrested.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And so they're with family, safe.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
And you were telling me one of them is having some issues.
Yes, the oldest one, not the oldest one from her prior. It was, from Reyes. He has been, it's been difficult for him, and his situation. We have to take him, to therapy and all of that because it's been more harder to him than his daughter. His
And how
daughter
old?
does.
How old?
His daughter is 8 years old, and Caden, he's 9. He's 9.
Okay.
They're like 1 year apart.
But they realize that their mom's not here and that their dad is accused of harming her.
To be honest, yeah. Well, my niece, she's not 100%. She don't know a lot about the story. My nephew is the one that he grabbed one of our phones, and he literally went in the internet and he started screaming because he didn't know the whole story. They're too small to know the whole story. So he found out that his dad was accused of murder, and that's when everything got worse.
Yeah, I can't imagine. You said something in this piece, and I feel like it's so powerful and important to talk about because once this happened, once she came up missing, you guys started realizing that there was some deeper rooted domestic violence that may have been going on.
Of course, once I think at the point that she made the call, the same day she was murdered, that she went missing, my older sister, that's when she's like, something's not right. She would never call me and tell me that if something happened to her, it was him, the one that murdered her. She's like, something don't add up. And as soon as she got home, we never received another call from her. And my sister waited till the next day because she's like, it's probably they're probably arguing or something like that. We tried calling her that same night, and even the next following day, my older sister called her, my brother, and she never answered. That's when we decided to take action, to call my uncle in San Antonio and tell him to go straight over there to her house, that something was not right, and to take the police officer.
Yeah, but you guys didn't see the signs. Would you say up until that point, you guys didn't see the signs of domestic violence, that there might have been something else, happening?
Not before, because she would not open up to us. He had her two apart from us. My brother did notice, Justin. He noticed something was not right, that something bad was happening in their relationship when they made that trip to Disney World. He said that day it was like 3 weeks prior her going missing. He said that every time she would go to the restroom, he would be like right outside the door, like if he was a security guard, like just waiting for her. Everywhere he will follow her. And then they did have an argument when they went to a bar to go eat. It was like food and and drinks. And he got mad. He got upset because they brought people in the table, to be with them and and relax. And they thought he had left after the argument, and he didn't leave. He was like for a whole hour. He was in back of a tree, looking at them.
Wow.
And that's what scared my brother. He asked my sister, is something going on? She's like, no, it's just that we have small arguments. That's all she mentioned. She never mentioned what was happening, nothing to the day she went missing. That's when she made the call.
What is your message out there to other families or other women who are experiencing some of what might sound like warning signs? What do you say to them?
My message to them is that if you're going through small little arguments and they keep going, and you're going through domestic violence, I think you should get out of there. I think you should speak up, speak to a family member, get out of there if you're on before it's too late. You know what I mean? My sister did not have time to leave. she waited to the last minute. I think it was more because she never thought he was capable of, doing what he did to her. That's what a lot of us women think, that, what, he hit me once, I'm not leaving. He's probably going to change. And they do not change. Just leave. If he hits you once, he's going to do it again.
Yeah. How important is it for you all to know where your sister's remains are?
To us, it's really important because, as you know, we all need closure. Her kids need closure. I think, I haven't been able to live my life the way, I should, because I'm traumatized to this point. I'm still in shock. I don't believe she's gone. And, till we don't have a place to bury her and, give her, peace for us to have closure, we're not going to be okay.
Yeah.
It could be years and we're still not going to be okay, because grief will never go away.
Yeah. Well, Maria, thank you for coming on to speak to us about Cecilia, about domestic violence, and about where this case is at right now. Obviously, come October, we'll be following this to see what happens. But thank you for taking the time out to join us. And obviously, sending prayers for your family, that you guys can get that closure.
Thank you so much for reaching out to me. I do thank you from the bottom of our hearts,
Of course.
and I'll be in touch with you if any updates.
Please. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You have a blessed day.
You also.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Maria Lopez, there is such a strong person who has, come and shared her sister's story and, spoken with me and just exhibited such strength. If you'd like to see Cecilia's full story, more information, head over to fox26houston.com. Not only can you find her story, but you can also find dozens of other stories in our section, The Missing, where we've highlighted the stories of women, men, children who have vanished from the greater Houston area, seemingly without a trace, into thin air. It might seem like, but somebody out there knows something about these missing persons cases. Somebody's overheard something. Do the right thing. I always say, if you have time to scroll through Instagram or TikTok, then you have time to, pick up your phone and scroll through the people that are missing from your area. See if you recognize someone. You might have heard something. You might know something that can really help bring these families closure, because I can tell you every single one of them says that they're living day by day, barely getting through each day, wondering, is today going to be the day that we get the news? Is today going to be the day that we get the closure? So I encourage you all, I implore you to go to our section, The Missing, go to the Texas Center for the Missing, and scroll through the faces of people missing in our community, because they matter. And that's why we're here, to shine a light on them. We will continue to do so. On Monday, August 28th, we have another edition of The Missing coming up on the News Edge. That's on Fox 26 at 10 p.m. This is the story of a man who vanished more than 40 years ago, before technology, before the internet. His mother's desperate search for answers, for closure. While she's 100 years old, she says that one of the things, she wants, her family says, before she leaves this earth, is to find out what happened to Brian Vargo. So tune in for that Monday, August 28th, 10 p.m. on Fox 26. And always, you can head over to fox26houston.com. So thank you guys so much. I am Gabby Hart for The Missing.